Total cost of cybercrime in 2017 exceeded $600 billion, according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Now, I don't share this statistic to scare you, but to inform you that there are risks with being online, and people's rights deserve to be protected, and the European nation is making sure to help protect people. Now, if you've just become an online tutor or are thinking of becoming one, and you don't live in the European nation, you most likely have never heard of GDPR. But not knowing about these set of laws could be setting you up for legal problems in countries where people could be finding your content online. And not knowing about a law does not make you exempt from it. This is kind of like not knowing what the tax laws are and not paying your taxes. Guess what? The government will still want their money and you will be fined. So back in May of 2018, people were freaking out about changes that would impact any online company and how we collect data of people who choose to visit our website or get on a mailing list. Now that hoopla has pretty much died down significantly, but the law is in effect and it could shut down your business if you are not compliant. Now, many tutors just getting started don't know anything about this law, and this is mistake number 22. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what GDPR is, how you can be GDPR compliant, and protect yourself while doing business online. My name is Joanne Kaminski, and when I first heard about GDPR, I thought that it wouldn't affect me. But then I attended a training from Bobby Klink, who is from youronlinegenius.com, and I realized that I did need to put some more pieces into place. After I listened to his training, I put the pieces that would be important for online tutors together in a free training for you to get an in-depth understanding of what this is and how it can impact you. If you like that I am providing content to help protect you and your business, please hit like, subscribe, and that little bell. Now, without further ado, here's that training. Welcome, everybody. Today we get to hang out and learn all about GDPR for your online tutoring business. And again, this is based on a training from Bobby Klink, and it was a really great a great training session, and it was set by Holly Tree English, who shared this information with us yesterday on all of the ins and outs with GDPR, what it is. And what I thought was cool about it is because he's a lawyer, he did have a lot of lawyer-y kind of talk inside of there. And so I thought, why don't I put something together that would kind of take the legal talk out of it and just kind of explain it in layman's terms. So that's my goal for you guys today. So what is GDPR? It stands for General Data Protection Act. So it is a law, but it is a law that is only going to be in effect in Europe. Well, if I'm not in Europe, do I have to follow this law? Only if you have people on your email list or have any data from anybody from Europe. If you're just getting started, the good news is it doesn't apply to you yet because you have nobody on your list. Woo, awesome. But you will have to be aware of what do I need to do to move forward so that if anybody were to subscribe to my list, that I'm compliant, because the fines can be up to $10 million to $20 million, or 2% of something and 4% of like your profit that you make per year. And whichever is higher, of course, I guess to be whichever is higher. So they could nail you pretty big on this if you are not in compliance. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But so we're going to talk about really the overview, the requirements. We're going to talk about your email lists and how there needs to be a consent standard in there. And then also privacy policy issues that you have to disclose to visitors who visit your website. So these are the three main things we're going to be discussing. So personal data is defined as any information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person. So these are obvious things like names, email addresses, and most people will agree that it also includes IP addresses and any other information that is collected automatically. So you are responsible for all of that information and what you do with it. Now, again, this is only for people that are in the EU. If you have people that are on your list from only the United States or Canada or Japan, none of this applies
It is only for EU. However, you never know if somebody is going to subscribe to your list from EU. So you just want to be compliant, because how in the world would you be able to just knock them out to begin with? There aren't too many tools out there that will do that for you. So there are 6 principles to this law. The data should be accurate and kept up to date and corrected. The data should be kept so it identifies the subject no longer than is necessary. So you don't hold on to data longer than what is actually necessary to hold on to it. The data should be processed in a manner that ensures appropriate security. The data should be processed lawfully, fairly, and in a transparent manner. The data should be collected for specified, explicit, and legitimate purposes. So you're not collecting any extra data that's not needed. If I don't need their address, I don't collect their address. Now, with my online tutoring students, I'm going to collect their address. I need to know where they live. I might be sending thank you cards. I might be sending Christmas cards. It's okay to collect that information if they live in the EU, and it's okay to collect it worldwide anyways. But you want to make sure you have a legitimate purpose. Now, you have a legitimate purpose if you're working with that client particularly. It's really the legitimate purpose comes on in when you are collecting the information on a freebie. That's where it really comes on in. Data processing should be limited to what is necessary for the purpose. Same thing we were talking about a second ago, right? Like only collect the information. I only need name and email from a lot of people. That's it. I don't need any other information from people. And so I automatically don't even collect that information from them. Looking back on that, who knew that I should be collecting the country that they live in? Because now my email list is going to go down to 0 pretty much if I follow this rule. Because I don't know where the people on my list live. And so I cannot right now segment my list into EU and non-EU. But moving forward, I will be able to segment my list on EU and non-EU. And you can do that as well with your freebie. Now, there are legal ways to have people on your list. There are 3 ways that you can continue to contact people from the EU as an online tutor. If you have their consent, they've checked something that says, yes, I give you consent to send me information. Contract fulfillment, that means you're tutoring their child. Then you obviously can email them, right? Legitimate interest. That's a real gray area, isn't it? Pretty much what this is saying is, in the past, I could give a freebie and I could put people on my email list without telling them that I was doing that. In the future, and again, this is only for EU, I cannot do that. I must tell them or give them an option to check that that's what they want and be very specific about that, about what they will receive. What kind of communication will they be receiving from me? Will I be offering any sales or discounts? Will I be offering my latest tips and tricks from my blog, or will I be sending them free videos from my YouTube channel? I must tell them specifically what it is that I am going to be sending them. Now, the people in the EU are going to have the right to erasure. So the GDPR explicitly sets out that individuals have the right to have information either corrected or completely erased. That means this is not an unsubscribe. A lot of people think, oh, well, they could just unsubscribe. Anybody can do that, right? No, this means a complete erasure of any of their information that you are in contact of. If they are in my Gmail list, I have to get rid of them. If I have created a spreadsheet, I must shred that spreadsheet that their information is on. Every single piece of document or electronic file that has their name and information must be destroyed. They have the right to make that happen. Now, they talk about that a lot of people are going to need a GDPR representative. I don't see that as something that online tutors are going to need at this point in time. They may change that, but they say if you have occasional contact with people, you do not need GDPR representative. But if you have more than occasional contact with them, then you should have a GDPR representative with your business. So if you had a lot of students over in the UK, I would say get a GDPR representative. If you just have a couple of people on your email list and you occasionally are emailing them, I would say most likely you're safe, because again, this is a gray area. Most likely you're going to be safe, and it's going to be okay that you don't have a GDPR representative. So you can search for a GDPR representative if you want to by just searching on Google. You'll find some. It is going to cost you, though, $175 US dollars a year, or 150 euros to have one. So you have to make the decision if it's worth it inside of your business to have this in place. Consent. So what is consent? You need standalone consent to add someone to your marketing list. So they need to specifically say, yes, please add me to your list. Somehow, some way, some shape, some form. The consent has to be informed. It has to be unambiguous, and it must be clear. What are they signing up for? Honestly, you guys, I don't know why this isn't even going worldwide. I mean, it just makes good practice and good business sense, if you ask me. It is making sure that people are being treated the way that they need to be treated in the online world. It's really protecting their rights and keeping their information safe. The last one is, regardless if they give you consent to be on the list, if you send them a freebie, you can't say, well, I'm not going to send you this freebie if you don't consent to being on my list. Because you cannot have a default set on your opt-in form for consent. It must be turned off. So I just have a little check mark. So similar, very similar, if you guys signed up for the 3 secrets to getting online tutoring students, right? There is a checkbox on check the date that works for you. So people can check 1, 2, 3. They can check as many as they want. They still are going to get the email sequence that gives them the information on how to come to the call. So it's very similar to that, because now they're just putting a check mark. Yes, you can continue to email me about any upcoming conferences, free videos, or any sales or special on your products or services. They're just going to mark that little thing. And once they mark that, then I have my consent to do that. I am going to be including with this all the things that you need to take into account when you're thinking about consent. I have come up with a checklist that I have modified from GDPR and made it into a really nice little quick download checklist that you guys are going to have the option to just get access to. All right, next is freebies. You may still use email to deliver freebies because you are fulfilling a contract and there's a legitimate interest. So let's say you send a freebie and you send an email with a link to that freebie. That's legal. They signed up for that. You're sending them, you are fulfilling what they have signed up for. It's all good. And these delivery emails are going to become a part of your strategy as well. But inside of this email sequence, once you're done with that freebie, it's done. Relationship over, unless they have given you consent. Again, it only matters if they're from the EU. You can still continue to do business as normal otherwise, but it's still great to collect that consent. So I'm going to start segmenting my list. People who are in the EU, people who are not in the EU. How? I'm going to have a drop-down menu of what country you're from. So I'm just adding one little piece of extra data on there, just their name, their email, and their country. This way, when I am sending information out, I am still legal with the information that I'm sending out. And I can stick to the process because I can segment inside of the program that I have, which is really, really nice. Get consent from your current list. If you already have a list, you got 2 more days. Okay, you only have 2 more days if you are here live with me. You only have until May 25th to get consent from your current list. If you're watching this afterwards, you have to delete your entire list if you don't know if they're from the EU or not. Does that make sense? Let me see a head nod, shake. Okay. So right now, you still have the opportunity to do some re-engagement to save part of your list. So you can send freebies to your list, ask them to consent. You can ask them to click a button. So we've seen this. Suzanne actually had an email, which I had gotten as well from Kirsten, who was just here with the podcast. She is from the EU, so she is sending all these emails because the rules for her being in the EU are very different from the rules for us. They're much less stringent for us than they are for her. She has to completely delete her entire list unless she gets this consent. Whereas I only have to delete the EU people, except for the fact that I don't know who those are, so my entire list is going to have to get deleted pretty much, except for the people that I can save in the next 2 days. You need to ask them to click on a button to be added to your list. My whole thing is educate them on what GDPR is and what you're going to be specifically sending them. Why are we doing it? So that's exactly what my next freebie is going to be, you guys. My next freebie is this GDPR training, so they can get informed and stay informed about what is legal for their online tutoring business. Honestly, do not ask them to join a newsletter. It never worked before. It's not going to work now. So, I mean, yes, you can ask them to join your newsletter. Go for it. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to have extremely, extremely low turnover rate on that. Because nobody wants another newsletter, right? If that's what you're going to call it. Tips and tricks about how to do blank is going to be way more successful than calling it a newsletter. How to get people to opt in. All right, so here you can still use lead magnets, and there are different touch points where you can get them to opt into this mailing list. Now you can use all 4 of these, you can use 1 of these. All 4 is going to be a little bit overboard. You don't need to use all 4 of these options. But the first touch point where you can get people to opt on in is on that first opt-in page. So just clearly say, hey, would you like to be added to my list? Now, of course, you're going to word it in a way that is fun, casual, and makes them want to actually click to be on there. Like, again, don't mention newsletter. That's, I don't know, it's like one of those like words that people get turned off by. No, I don't want to be a part of your newsletter. Even if you have the greatest newsletter in the world, I'd rather know what a benefit of your newsletter is instead. So think about that. Like, what is the benefit of somebody being on my news list? On my news, like subscribing to my newsletter? What would the biggest benefit for them be? And call it that. And next is the sandwich page. So maybe you don't do it on your opt-in page, but the next page, they go to a landing page saying, hey, if you like this, then you'll also want more. You'll want blank, blank, blank. Sign up for my list, click on this button. You could do it that way. I think it's a little much to do it on the opt-in page and then send them to another page that asks them to do the same thing, especially if they've already done it. So I am just choosing to do it on the opt-in page. I'm not going to have a sandwich page at this point in time, but maybe there's going to be other times where I feel it's more appropriate to do a sandwich page than have it on the opt-in page. The next is in the first delivery email that you send them. So you send them the email that has the information about the freebie to download. You can have a paragraph that says, hey, if you like this and you want more awesome stuff like this, click here. And then they can go on in and they can get opted in onto your list. And the last place is actually on the lead magnet. So there could be, again, a paragraph there. It could be the same exact paragraph, doesn't have to change. Hey, if you want to be on my list, check here. So there's 3 touch points where you can be inviting them. There's 4 listed here, but 3 are really only necessary to invite them to be on your list. The last part of the GDPR is the privacy policy. So privacy policy, we were just reading about inside of our book. We're reading the Legal and Accounting book right now. And I am just for 1 second going to, can I do this? Where's the more? All right, so our privacy policy has always been in place. This is something that we should have on our websites, regardless of GDPR, because it's also a California law. So every person that comes to your website that does not see the privacy policy, like in your footer of your website, you actually could get fined $2,500 for each person that visited your website. Okay, we're gonna click on. So what do you need to include in your privacy policy? Your relevant contact information, your name, your address, and how can people contact you, your email. What information you collect and why you collect it. You must state what specific information are you collecting from them and why are you collecting it. You need to tell them what you're going to do with this data. You need to tell the visitors what their rights are under GDPR. Like they need to know that they can actually request from you to completely erase all of their data. They need to be exposed to that. So here are the user's rights. They have the right to know how long you're going to keep their data. And it could be indefinitely until they ask you to get rid of it, but you have to state it if that's what you're doing. But you also have to think about is that it also has to fit under the other part of the law that says, is it necessary for me to hold on to the data? Right? So you have to think, is it really necessary for me to hold on to the data of somebody who downloaded a freebie a year ago? Probably not unless they consented to get continuous emails from me. So I should be deleting it. Tell them, number two, tell them they have the right to their information. They can change it or they can have you completely erase it. And then lastly, let people know that they can take back their consent at any time. Like this is not a marriage. You like checking this box is not a marriage. You can take away consent at any point in time. They need to know that. Where do you put this privacy policy? You can put it on your footer. You can put it in your main menu. But I want you guys thinking about any point in contact where you are coming in contact with somebody from the EU where you're collecting their information, you want to have it. So if you have an opt-in page, you're going to see on the opt-in page, I'm going to share with you very soon that I have my privacy policy on there. So pretty much anywhere you're collecting data from people, anywhere where they're visiting you, like online, you should have this privacy policy on there. I even saw some people doing it inside of like Facebook, like with an image, like here's my privacy policy. And that's something you can certainly do as well. I don't collect information from people on Facebook. So unless they decide to move forward, like with my services, they're just going to go into my regular funnel where I have stated all of that stuff. But I don't collect specific data and use any data from Facebook to, like I'm not emailing anybody from Facebook or unless they've given me consent or, messaging me, all that kind of stuff.
Joanne, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Yeah.
Holly just added that they also have a right to receive a copy of all the data.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They have a right to receive a copy of all the data. So if it's just their name and email, you can send them where that's stored, what that looks like, and they can have a copy of that.
Okay.
Certainly. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think you can see why this would be more important in other industries and stuff too. But with our online tutoring students, they have the right to all data that you talk about. So like assessments and all of that kind of stuff that you do on their child. They should already be getting access to that to begin with. Like none of that should be secret data that you're collecting about them, right? That's information you're already openly sharing with them. There's nothing that like I would think that I can see that online tutors would be doing, like sharing. I wouldn't share that information. It's kind of like HIPAA in a way, right? Like I wouldn't share that information with other people that don't have access to it or shouldn't have access to it. That is, I keep those kinds of client tutor professionalism in place with my business. Even when I'm talking with my own children, I'd be like, I can't discuss that with you because I work with some of the kids in their grades. And I just look at them and I just say, I can't discuss that with you. And they just respect that. So I am going to send you guys a link on here to a place where you can get a copy of not only this video, you're also going to get a copy of an editable privacy policy that you can edit and just put into your websites. I'm going to give you guys the consent checklist that you have, and also a copy of the PowerPoint that we have as well. Now let's take a look at how I have organized this opt-in for everybody. So here I have my title, Learn How to Be GDPR Compliant in Your Online Tutoring Business. I've also learned how to spell compliant correctly. It's with an A, not an E, like I always want to do. You will get access to a free training and downloads that will help you be in compliance. And then here, I just have enter your name, email address, and country to be able to get these great tools. So now I'm able to keep track of where are they from and what rules do I need to follow with them because of that. And then here is my little checkbox for them as well. I want to get free tips and tricks about running an online tutoring business, be invited to conferences, and be updated about sales and discounts. That is the only reason that I ever email people. Would you agree? For under those circumstances. If there's something else that you guys see, please let me know so I make sure that I add it. But those are the three things that I felt like these are the areas that I am constantly emailing people about. And so, hey, now they know these are the three things that I'm going to be emailing you about. Then they just click here, and you can see here my privacy policy. And when they click on the privacy policy, if they wanted to do that, then right on over here is my entire privacy policy. Now, because I am inside of Kajabi here, there are certain things that are Kajabi related, so this would not be a good one to utilize for your privacy policy, because I mean, you're not using cookies and that kind of stuff, whereas in here, because of affiliates and tracking that stuff, we are using cookies in Kajabi if you are an affiliate. So I plainly express that inside of here and what that means. And then I have, as I had mentioned, right, like I have my email address in there. I have my actual address in there. None of that is kept secret from people.
As you can see, there's a lot to think about. But now that you know about it, you will protect yourself. Now, I have created for you some free downloads that can help you be compliant. The first download is a checklist to check for compliance, and the second is a download to a privacy policy that you can use on your website. Now, this will take some of the work out of it for you and help ensure that you are in accordance to this law. If you're looking for more information about following laws in your business, then take a look at the Online Genius podcast, where Bobby shares great information about protecting your business and marketing it ethically. Now, the next thing that most online tutors don't know about is paying taxes. And while I'm based in the US and will be sharing specifically about US tax laws, there will be information that is pertinent to everyone around the world. So join me next week as I share mistake number 24, not paying quarterly taxes. My name's Joanne Kaminski, the Online Tutor Business Coach, helping you get found, hired, and referred. Here's till next time, everyone. Bye.